I will kind of be surprised if we get 50 minutes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're underestimating our abilities to talk.
I mean, I am, and I always do.
We are two people who are never without things to say, Neil.
Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. That's all you gotta do is just shut the fuck up.
Right. Never gonna happen. I mean,
It's like that annoying person that you know who you're always like just super nice to and like listen to what they have to say. Like, and then like whenever they just walk away, you just walk the other way, like around the corner when you're just out of earshot. Just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Shut the fuck up.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Just walk around the corner and be like, "Holy shit! I have shit to do.
God.
Why did they say so much?"
Christ. Oh
Exactly
my
right.
God.
All right.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. You. Yes, you, dear listener, have decided for whatever reason to turn into another horrible gaming podcast. I'm not alone, nor am I ever, almost. With me is...
Almost. It is I from the past, coming to you now in the future. Woo. Neil, aka Tiny Wizard.
I was about to say, you better put your name in there somewhere.
No, I was just
It is I.
Like, no, that's it. That's just it.
We only refer to him as I from now on.
It is I. It is me. Me am I. I am him.
All right.
Is.
So, guys and gals listening, we are doing a special episode. I've explained this on previous podcasts, but you guys know me. I'm literally a walking disclaimer. So I'm going to explain it again. I am on vacation as you are listening to this. So
What are you doing right now, Zach?
What am I doing right now?
Yeah, what are you going to be doing? What are you doing right now?
I'm
while
walking.
you're on vacation?
I'm walking on the beach, on the ocean beach. Yes, with my daughter and my wife. It's actually chilly, and we picked a weird time to go to the ocean. But I mean, it's cheaper.
That is
so
objectively, like, outside of the tiny bit that I have begun here, that is kind of odd. Yes.
Yes. Well, we made an impulse decision at night, but honestly, the town that we're in is amazing. There are tons of great eateries, great museums, great amusement parks, just tons of stuff to do. So we're okay with not being able to swim. It's still a wonderful time here. And we do get the benefit of this very obvious touristy place not being super busy.
That is true.
So there you guys go. That's what I'm doing right now. Just smash cut to real me now, and it's just fire, and I'm like, oh my god! So what we're doing today is we are recording this literally right after we recorded the last week's episode. And we used to do this thing on this show. Some of you might remember it. Some of you might be too new to remember it, but it was called the Horrible Arena. And here's what we would do. We would set criteria for the Horrible Arena. Then we would have a pitch-off. So, like, you'd say, like, action game. And then me and Neil would have to pitch an action game. We'd have to pitch the title. We'd have to pitch the developer. And then we'd have to pitch
I forgot developers for all of mine.
Did you? I did not. Better start tick-a-tapping over there. So what we do is then we pitch these things to you guys. And you guys get to tell us who won. We're going to do things a little bit differently since this is going to be a full episode of Horrible Arena. How we're going to do this is each of us will pitch. Each of us got to pick, and then the third one is a wild card. We can pitch whatever we want to you guys, and then each of us got to pick. I picked licensing. Neil picked crossover. So yeah, what we'll do though is each segment, so licensing, we'll both pitch our licensed game. Then we're going to talk about it. We're going to kind of discuss what we liked about each other's, what we didn't like, maybe even talk about which one we thought won as a whole. But the ultimate power is in you guys' hands. You guys get to vote for whichever ones you thought won in each category, and that'll be that. That's the fun of this show. But before we get into that, we do need to thank the people who helped us make this show possible. Number one, if you're watching this on YouTube, behind the fancy timestamps, you're seeing fancy graphics. Those fancy graphics are provided to us by Mr. Mark Bell. We thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song for this show and all the shows here at OMG are provided by my brother, the man who makes the music, Nick Van Sliders. We thank him for that. Now, one last disclaimer before we hit pause and go to our first pitch, and that is there will be no fan interaction, obviously, because we just read all the fan interaction from last week. There will be no fan interaction this week. Instead, anything you post on this week or the week prior, I will read when we come back on episode 135. So, with that said, we'll be right back with our first pitch.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, we're back with our first category. Now, this category is the category I chose, which is licensed product. That's right, a video game off a licensed product. Let's face it, they're not usually great. Not usually great. But hopefully we can pitch something that's interesting to you guys. You want to go first, Neil? You want me to go first on this one?
I'll go first.
All right.
All right. So.
The floor is yours, sir.
All right. Thank you. So, my game, my licensed game. I don't know if it'll be for everybody, but do you like games like Cooking Mama, but wish they were just a little bit more intense? Well, then, the Hell's Kitchen game by EA would absolutely be for you. So, how would it work? So the game would have two aspects. It would have your online multiplayer as well as a single-player story campaign mode. The single-player story mode would follow your own custom-created chef on their way to being the best chef in the country, winning a job at one of Gordon Ramsay's restaurants in one of the world's worst job interviews ever. So playing through the single-player campaign would have challenges. These challenges would consist of preparing dishes under certain conditions, such as using limited sets of ingredients or preparing certain dishes within a certain type of cuisine, stuff along those lines. And then they would also, throughout the course of it, have your standard dinner service where you had to perform on your station making certain dishes fast enough. It would turn it almost into a sort of overcooked situation without all the shenanigans. Now, how would this game actually function? Well, it would have a lot of stats based on everything. So certain types of ingredients would have their own types of stats used for various things. So exotic ingredients would have like possibly a lower taste stat for the overall flavor of the food, but have a risk multiplier, which may elevate the dish if used. So your dish would end up having a score associated with it. And that's how it would be compared against whatever it is that would be asked of you. The stats would also play into your created character's stats. So whenever you make your character, you would put various points into cooking styles or certain types of cuisines. So you may want to be a better sauté cook than you would want to be a pâtissier, anything along those lines. And you would increase your effectiveness with those dishes whenever you were at service. So you could min-max in some regards. Maybe you want to be a straight-up Italian cuisine chef and totally blow everybody away with that Italian cuisine. But then whenever it comes to something like Asian food, you may not be the best in the group. And then you would have your multiplayer. I apologize. The multiplayer would have a competitive element where you would go online and you would team up with people to have competing kitchens to get through dinner service the best and fastest, or individual competition where you would go head to head against other players online making dishes with your own personal cook builds to go through and just compete head to head to see if you could make the best dish compared to everybody else. And you could even go so far as to allow people to turn it into like a Twitch thing to allow that integration for streaming, allow people to register for your stream session to have all these different people go multiplayer in one group and have the people spectating be the judges in the end to say who, did the best. So you would have a voting element as well on top of your standard score. So that would be this game. That would be the Hell's Kitchen game.
All right. I'll save my thoughts for the summary.
Yeah, we'll get back. We'll get to that after both pitches happen.
Yeah. All right. So my licensed game is Cobra Kai. Look, there's been a Cobra Kai game already, and it sucked ass. So I want to make a good Cobra Kai game. Who's my developer? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, if you want a martial arts game, there's one developer in the business right now, and that is Slow Clap. They made Sifu, they made Absolver. Bring Slow Clap in, and they get to flex muscle they haven't really gotten to flex yet with Cobra Kai with a little bit of comedy. Because, let's face it, Sifu and Absolver are very heavy-handed. You could get a little bit funnier with this. Now let's pitch the game, now that you've got the developer and the subject matter. Now, I don't want you playing as normal characters. I don't want this to be a fighting game. What I want this to be is I want this to be in the true vein of Cobra Kai. And what happens in Cobra Kai every time? X person gets trained, person comes up, ends up fighting against X person, starts another dojo. So here's what the game will be. You will make a character in their junior year in high school, 17 or 18. You get to start from scratch. You get to make the character from the ground up. All the customization options. Then there's a little intro scene. Maybe you get beat up or whatever, and you get to pick which dojo you join. The game will start off in where you can either pick Cobra Kai, you can pick Eagle Fang with Johnny Lawrence, Cobra Kai with what's his face? I can never remember his name. And
Daniel LaRusso?
Not Daniel LaRusso's Miyagi-Do. And then
sorry.
Yeah, Cobra Kai is the general. Kreese.
Yeah.
So you could either train under Kreese, train under Johnny Lawrence as Eagle Fang, or Daniel LaRusso Miyagi-Do. Each one of those trainings will then be another chunk of your story. You'll fight with that dojo. You'll become in with that dojo. You'll make friends at that dojo, but you'll also learn techniques that are specific to that dojo. So each playthrough can have a different little spice to it, depending on who you pick. But I don't stop there, ladies and gentlemen. This game will definitely have an end game, because as you fight through, as you win those All-Valley Karate tournaments, or place in those All-Valley Karate tournaments, and you get involved in your own storyline based on which dojo you're fighting, eventually you'll come to want to start your own dojo. You'll get old enough to start your own dojo, and then you get to go create your own dojo and start to bring in students and train them your moves. At that point, you can actually even further your own character's build by learning moves from other ones, because you'll slowly pull students from Eagle Fang or Cobra Kai or Miyagi-Do or wherever you didn't train, and you can actually learn moves from them. And then you get to train them to take them to the All-Valley Karate Finals, while also then getting involved in a much more mature storyline with the other dojo leaders. So that's my pitch, a full start-to-finish Cobra Kai. You get to create a character. You get to go through all the steps of Cobra Kai, which, let's face it, is get into a dojo, end up learning from that dojo, hate that dojo, start your own dojo. so that's what you get from mine. That's Cobra Kai. So that's my pitch.
So
what?
I'm just gonna start us talking about this right now.
Okay.
I've already lost because that's.
When was the moment you think you lost on this one?
When you said Cobra Kai, I was like, fuck, why didn't I do that? And then you were like, oh yeah, people who fucking did all the
Sifu, yeah,
like that. I was like, oh, okay, so like not only just like the content, but like, the one who does the content too. Okay, it's like, oh, fuck me then.
Look.
That was
I thank you. I do think I probably pulled that one out. I told you ahead of time that I thought my licensed product was gonna win. That being said, I do wanna tout some awesome things about your game. First of all, I love the idea. I love any time a game does something very simple but adds RPG and build elements to it. And when you started with Hell's Kitchen, I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. But you actually pulled me in with the idea of specializing your character and like building him out to make certain dishes. I really like the Twitch integration too. I think that was a real winner in your pitch as well. And I got to be honest, my game doesn't have multiplayer, so which right off the bat is going to hurt my vote with Philbilly because he likes multiplayer. So I don't know. I don't see a way to do multiplayer in this game that I have pitched, so that's why I didn't necessarily put multiplayer in it. But your game does, and I loved the multiplayer. I love the idea of fighting the builds. I love the idea of using Twitch integration to vote on the cooking show. I think that would be a killer on Twitch, really.
Yeah, and it's funny because when I originally, it was like license game. What the fuck am I gonna do for license games? Like, I don't know, a TV show, I guess, and like maybe I'll just do some dumbass competition show or something. Turn it into something like that. At least like I had no idea where to start.
Look,
Because,
I said, the minute you said Hell's Kitchen, I was out. But when you added in those like. You pulled me back with the RPG elements.
See,
I'm not gonna lie.
I was like, oh, Hell's Kitchen, ... And like, even like the Cooking Mama thing, I just literally thought of that whenever I was gonna start to do my pitch. I didn't even have that typed out. I was like, oh my God, I literally just made Cooking Mama, but with a Hell's Kitchen logo slapped on it. What the fuck? But I mean, I was sitting down here in my basement watching my laundry room drain overflow, and I was just like, I need to fucking type this shit out, and I was just thinking about it as I'm sucking up water off the floor. I was like, yeah, I'll just do Hell's Kitchen, fuck it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm proud of the Cobra Kai though. I love the idea of like, I'm not gonna lie, some of this idea came from Terry Shakespeare because I was playing Sifu for Amateur Hour, my Tuesday night fighting game kind of stream, my brawler stream, and Terry Shakespeare was like, man, these guys should make Cobra Kai. And then I was like, holy shit, what would that look like? And I put that together in my head, and when we decided to do the Horrible Arena, if you recall, I told you, I was like, I already have one that I have to pitch, and I've had it in my head forever. That's why I picked licensing, because I was like, I gotta pitch that Cobra Kai game. I love the idea of making a kid going through the steps, and then the end game is managing your own dojo, so you get the aspects of every like third person action, and then third person training and tournament and sport, and then you get the and then you get almost like dojo management as well, you know.
And what could be really interesting too is all three of them can have 3 separate campaigns.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally, they would all have their own sort of story. Like it's the same overarching story, but you'd have to like play through all 3 of them to get the story as a whole.
Yeah.
Because everybody get trained different, but they're all crossing paths at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, I think that'd be really good. Yeah, I knew they put a Cobra Kai game out, and
It's
I knew
terrible.
it was going to be garbage, so I didn't even attempt to
Yeah,
look
it's
at
terrible.
it.
It's absolutely terrible. It's just like a brawler fighter, if I recall correctly, but it's like it's not good.
Surprised they went for the low-hanging fruit.
Well, honestly, I'd be okay with the low-hanging fruit if it was quality. I love a 2D brawler. Like, I mean, everybody who knows me knows I love a 2D brawler. It's just, it did not look good. I watched every play, like, and I think IGN gave it like a 4 or 5 or something like that, maybe a 3.
God.
Like, it was not good. It was definitely like, we got to get a Cobra Kai game out there, you know what I mean? And they just chucked it at a screen.
You know, speaking of the 2D side-scrolling brawler, I don't know how we didn't even bring this up in the regular podcast. You see that TMNT collection?
Yeah, I did. I
Yeah.
did. It looks great. It looks great. They even got Hyperstone Heist, which nobody does that anymore. You can't find that anywhere. That's the Genesis version of the Turtles in Time, and I actually thought it was a far superior brawler. So I'm kind of excited about that. Not gonna lie, I might pick that up. Might indeed pick that up.
Oh yeah.
All right, well, that's our first pitch, but you guys get to decide. But we're not done yet. We got two more. We each have two more pitches for you. So next, we're gonna go to the one that Neil chose, which was crossover, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with crossover.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, everybody. That brings us to our second subject. This one Neil picked. He picked crossover. So game crossover. Two game characters coming together. Mine might be a little bit of a disqualification, but as we do with all disqualifications, you guys decide the disqualifications. But I definitely pulled it, so I'm pitching first. My developer is Playground Games. My game is Forza Wasteland. The crossover specifically is Forza and Mad Max. So basically, what I wanted to pitch here is, I've pitched crossovers before. My mind always ends up getting drawn to the 2D brawlers, but I wanted to pitch something different for crossover. And one thing I love Mad Max. I've always loved Mad Max Fury Road, the original movies. I love post-apocalyptic car combat is just one of the most fun things. I have a bunch of tabletop games that I play that are post-apocalyptic car games. Every time I make a role-playing game, it somehow ends up with car combat somewhere in it. With this in general, I love that. There has been one video game of Mad Max. Warner Brothers Studios did it, and it was good. It was good, but it was an open world, very straightforward thing. And the cars, there was only really 3 different types of cars you could pick. There were upgrades, but none of it was really scientific or realistic. Whereas you look at Forza Horizon, and you look at the builds you can do on those cars, pumping the tires, the scientific amount that you can go into struts and engines and stuff. I want that merged. I want Mad Max. You've got Forza. Forza actually has licensing deals with all of the major car companies. We could see some of the actual Chargers and Mustangs, some of the old trucks like the Broncos. You could get those in a Mad Max game, and then you could add the science into that. They could actually even do some theoretical stuff like how much drag would be on if you put spikes on the tire or a bumper made of human skulls. Like stuff like that would be really cool to add into this game. How this game would play is much like Forza Horizon, except all of the missions that you would land on or the adventures that you would go on would involve violence, which would be great. One thing that they could add to this game, because they're definitely getting into that third-person kind of action genre, as we know with Fable, is you could actually add in AI piloted, AI co-pilots. Depending on the vehicle that you chose, the vehicle that you're racing, you could actually have people in it. They use the guns, and then you can actually supply your car with different guns, double barrel shotguns, AKs, that sort of thing. What's even cooler is you could add in kind of a survival resource management part to this with ammunition and whatnot, much like Mad Max. There doesn't need to be necessarily an overarching storyline. It can just be more about like accomplishing goals, capturing places, rescuing things. I think this would just be so cool. Forza does car action like nobody else. I want them to tack on that Mad Max flavor and then just see what happens there. That's my pitch.
Alrighty. So, my game would be a crossover from Capcom and id, and it will be a Devil May Cry and Doom crossover, because those worlds mesh very well. So, with this, Dante would be once again pitted against Mundus. However, Mundus would have made a deal with Satan himself to get even more power and control over the spawn of hell, which this action alone would summon the Doomslayer. Now, the game would originally begin with Dante and the Doomslayer being at odds with each other, eventually they will form an uneasy alliance, and you would then be able to control both characters and swap between them whenever you would want. So both of these games on their own have very fast-paced action. So what you would be able to do is have very stylish melee close encounters combat with Dante, and be able to set up launches and combos that you could then swap over to the Doomslayer and meat hook onto enemies in the air and shotgun blast them back down to the ground and just start ripping and tearing through dudes as fast as you possibly can. It would be a single player story driven game. And all of that fast paced action would remain, but it would be very style based. And you could also go ahead and do split screen co-op or an online co-op, to where you would choose which of the two characters you would control, and even allow for the option to swap in the middle of it. So if you did want to start off as Dante and then be the Doomslayer, or vice versa, to give everybody a taste of everything that would be going on. Unfortunately, this was one of my lighter pitches. I hadn't really had a chance to fully flesh everything out with it, but I think it's a pretty strong melding of two very similar ideas.
That is definitely not a game for me, but I think it's really interesting. Especially if you somehow folded in the idea of like moving between the third person, like when you're playing Dante, you're third person, and when you're playing the Doomslayer, you're first person. That would be really trippy and cool if like you could switch back and forth. I will say this: that game has to have a versus scene at some point where you play both. Like that game.
Yeah, absolutely.
That game would be a game director's wet dream. You know what I mean?
Yes,
like that's what you do, is like you really like storyboard that shit out and have fun with it. I would love if you like you start the fight as Doomslayer with Dante, and then halfway through you switch to Dante as and fight Doomslayer. You know, that would be really cool.
Yeah. And honestly, the one other thing that would be awesome is like kind of do almost a God of War QuickTime event thing. I hate QuickTime events, but the possibilities cinematically with them, have like Dante thrust into an enemy and launch them back while the Doomslayer's just standing behind him with a crate, like the BFG, blasts a hole through him, and then like Dante just jumps in and like sights through them or whatever. Yeah. I think that'd be so cool, the melding of those two. And I gotta say, yours 100% is a very natural combination.
Thank you.
That there, it almost gives me vibes of what I thought should be a natural evolution of the Forza Horizon game.
Yeah.
Almost like this is what we
like
do.
Get crazy with it.
Yeah, you drive in the open wilderness freely and do things, but add a combat element.
Yeah.
And keep that like gearhead sort of base level tinkering with things, but then go ahead and still give people the free range to just ride around and do whatever the fuck they want to do, or also destroy motherfuckers.
Right. I think that like one of the things that like there isn't really any Mad Max style post-apocalyptic game that really speaks to the gearhead. You know what I mean? And like that almost depresses me. Even though I wouldn't consider myself a gearhead. Like those games are made for gearheads. Like I can't think of a gearhead who doesn't like Mad Max, you know? And you even have some like weird PvP things, like it's not Carmageddon, it's Crossout. That's what it's called. Crossout, which is like a MMO versus sort of thing where you build the car, but it's more like a hexagonal building. There's no like real like car parts to it. Like give the gearheads a chance to really be like, all right, I want to take this fucking 69 Charger and like trip it the fuck out to be a Mad Max thing, you know?
Yeah, I think it's bizarre that something that is so like with cars integrated so much, and it's integral to everything, that there hasn't been more of a focus on that.
Right. Right. Like
I
Mad Max is all about Franken cars, without a doubt. But like there are no real presentations for a gamer where you can get Franken-car with it, you know?
and you know, I'm gonna say something that is gonna upset you, and I think you already know what that's going to be,
Okay.
because when we did the game that you ran, whenever you had said, like, you know, when we run tabletop games and
Mm-hmm.
everything, it was like a Mad Maxy sort of situation
Yep.
that we did, and at that point, we had even talked about how it was so rooted in what Mad Max was. Like, we need to watch the Mad Max movies so we can like know what it is, like get a full appreciation for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I still have yet to do that.
I'm so mad at you right now. I
I know.
can't even begin. You haven't seen Fury fucking Road?
No, I wanted to start from the very beginning and watch them. We
Oh,
tried to find them
don't
on
do
all
that. You don't need to do
no,
that. You
no,
really don't
just
need to do
Fury
that.
Road.
You could just watch Fury Road.
Oh,
Like
okay,
Fury
well,
Road does not require, like, nothing about
previous
Fury Road
knowledge.
requires previous. In fact, there's things in Fury Road that happen that make it feel like they're referencing to prior movies, and they're not in any way, shape, or form, because the guy who made that movie is totally insane. So, like, all of them are totally insane. I mean, what's crazy about the old movies too is the first one isn't post-apocalyptic.
Really?
It's not. It's not in any way, shape, or form. It's almost apocalyptic. Like, it's like dystopian future sort of shit. But, like, Mad Max is just a cop.
Huh.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and then somewhere between the first one and the second one, the apocalypse happens. And then Mad Max is in Road Warrior. And, like, Road Warrior itself could literally be its own movie. Like, it's not even really connected to Mad Max. Like right off the bat, they explain, like, oh, he's this man who lost his family and went into the wastes in his car. And that's it. And then that's all you need to know about the second movie. Like, it's crazy. And then the third movie he actually talks. The third movie's wonky. It's just totally wonky. But the third movie literally has two characters played by the same actors who played two very similar characters in the movie prior, but they're different characters, and it will confuse the shit out of you.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Yeah,
That is very bizarre.
like I don't think those movies are bad at all, but at the same time, just watch Fury Road. That's all you need to watch to get the best Mad Max experience. I'm not gonna lie, it really is. Or Road Warrior. I would say Road Warrior or Fury Road. But like Thunderdome and the original Mad Max, you can kind of skip. Not gonna lie.
Thing. I'm gonna search that. I'm gonna search if it's on anything.
You're gonna search if it's on Fury Road.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's on anything. Honestly, might be. I don't know. I have no idea. I own it. I can loan it to you.
Oh, it's on HBO Max. I have HBO Max.
Oh yeah, watch it then.
Yeah.
Just watch
I
it.
might-
You
watch
do
it.
not need to watch. It is not like a Star Wars thing. You do not need to know anything about the lore at all, at all. Especially since in Fury Road it's Tom Hardy. It's not even like Mel Gibson. It's like just watch Fury Road. You don't need to watch anything else. Okay. So yeah, I think those were two great pitches. I really liked both of
Yeah,
those. Honestly.
Absolutely.
Honestly. So, but what do you guys like? Who do you think won out of the two of us, though?
That is the most important part.
Who do you think won out of the two of us there, Neil?
Out of the two of us, who won? You know,
This is a tough one. This is a little bit tougher than the last
so
one, I think.
honestly, I think my personal vote situation here, I think I would vote for yours if I
Okay.
was standing back and looking between the two, because like I feel like my idea was pretty strong, but I didn't. I was just like, yeah, it's two dudes that are like the same thing and in a universe together, and they do the fight.
You know, I'm not trying to be selfish here. I personally, if I'm voting as a consumer, I would put my money down for mine. But in fairness, I don't necessarily think it's fair there, because I don't play Doom games or Devil May Cry games. I don't like them. They're not my kind of game. Whereas if you told me it's a realistic car game with Mad Max, I just take all of my money. You know, so like. In that way, I think I'd probably pull it out. That being said, I don't know. I liked your pitch, because your pitch is much more like in the vein of the crossover. Like, you have two crossover characters really that just perfectly mesh with each other. You could do a lot of cool stuff with that. So yeah, but as Neil was saying, the real choice is you guys. Please vote in the comments below to tell us who you think won, and that's who matters. All right, we got one more pitch for you guys.
That is who matters.
That is
only the one who won is the one who matters.
What they don't know is whoever wins gets to kill the other one with a knife. So,
So who really matters in the end?
There can be only one.
There can only be one.
All right, well, we're going to go to our final pitch, which is Wild Card. We shall be right back.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so final pitch of the evening, guys. Here is the criteria we decided was wild. Whatever we wanted to pitch. This is our pitch.
Wow.
We can do whatever we want. We pitch our heart however we want to pitch it. Neil has won the quantum coin flip, which we haven't had to do in a long time.
Wow, the quantum coin toss.
I know, right? The quantum coin toss. So Neil won it. He gets to go first. So take it away, Neil.
All right, so my final pitch of the evening, rather, is going to be Monster Truck Rally, and it will be done by Vicarious Visions. So, have you ever wanted to go to a Monster Truck Rally or gone to a Monster Truck Rally and just watch these big, huge honking chunks of metal on 4 huge honking chunks of rubber roll around, destroying shit, and be like, man, you know what? Who would really like that? Tony Hawk. Probably not, is what I would say to you. But this game would function essentially like a Tony Hawk Pro Skater game. So, you would create your own truck with your own specs. So, however you would build out your truck, let's say if you wanted a bigger engine for your vehicle to be able to get more speed for jumps, or maybe one with a better suspension to recover from those jumps faster. Maybe you want to invest more in the weight of your truck, in the body of it, so that you can smash things harder. You could do that. You would build your own vehicle from the ground up and its appearance, and then you would take that truck into an arena. You would have different types of arenas that you would have available, and in those arenas, you would get a certain amount of time to perform trips and jumps and crushing vehicles to earn as many points as humanly possible, causing all the destruction and mayhem as you can. You could do these different jumps and destruction in sequential orders and in combinations to get you points multipliers, and depending on the area in the arena that you are and how much of a combo chain you'd have going, the audience in the stands watching you could react and add multipliers. There would also be a destruction mode, of course, that would just be pure, unadulterated destruction with a monster truck demo derby. Destroy the other vehicles as much as you can. You could take your own vehicle in that online mode, or you could take in a pre-built one as well if you so desired. That way you could have your online multiplayer mode that's just strictly focused on like a battle royale structure where the last truck standing wins, or you could have something that's more focused on skill and style. That would be my game, Monster Truck Rally.
I like that one. Oh,
yeah.
All right. My game is called The Federation. It is brought to you by 2K Games, of all things, which I know, kind of weird, but hear me out. All right, so first of all, I love professional wrestling. Anybody who's listening to this podcast, anybody who knows me knows I love professional wrestling. I follow professional wrestling. I have thought about starting up a professional wrestling YouTube channel. That being said, I like professional wrestling video games, but they leave something to be desired to me. All professional wrestling video games try to simulate the actual wrestling from a wrestler's standpoint as if it was actually real, like almost like a fighting game. You know, and I'm not saying wrestling isn't real. It's real. It's just predetermined. But still, they kind of make it. You try and feel like it's you're trying to actually beat the other person in wrestling, which is fine. I'm not against that. But here's what I want. Here's what I do with those games. I take those games and I just make matches and watch the computer fight. The problem is that the computers are never built for this sort of thing, which is a little bit irritating. So what do I want out of a wrestling game? I want the Federation. The Federation is a ground-up simulator of you starting a federation from point A and building it up to be one of the competing major talent organizations in the industry. You will start by booking different locations. You will have to hire your wrestlers. You'll have to manage your small amount of money and ticket sales, all between things. But what gets even cooler is you will book the matches between your people. You will have the opportunity to try and set them up as big, major players to try and get those 5-star matches. And what we'll do with 2K is 2K does something really cool. It has this graphical fidelity, but they're always trying to work these systems in. How cool would it be if they just worried about the spectator part of it? What's even cooler about this game is you can let it play out and watch it simulate so you don't know who the winner is, or you can actually stage out the match, put the spots together, start to finish. It will be easy. Once you put the wrestlers in that you want to see in, you'll have access to their movesets, and you'll be able to put their moves together in a certain order, and that will play out as the match itself, actually dictating every part of it, if you want that level of control. Either way, the most fun of this will be taking your company from nothing, absolutely nothing, with nothing but independent players, all the way up to the top, all the way to competing with the big names, all the way to competing with the WWEs and the AEWs and all that. That's where this game could really shine. But we're not done yet. We want multiplayer here. So now you get to take your federation online, compete against other federations, even trade with other federations. What you'll actually have a couple of different modes here. One, you'll have a leaderboard section, as per se usual. You'll have a one-time versus sort of section, book off. But you can actually set up long-standing leagues, kind of like Madden did back in the day. But in this, what'll happen is each one of the players, wrestlers that they have in their league, which are procedurally generated, obviously, will actually go into a pool. You guys will draft off to your actual individual federations, and then you'll actually have to use those to try and build up your federation against the other people year after year with your own pay-per-views, your own shows, the whole 9 yards. Trade wrestlers between two federations. Keep your wrestlers happy because they can also ditch you for other companies. This is the game that I have been waiting my entire life to play and has never really come out. I know a lot of you are probably saying Arcade Fire Pro Wrestling. Fire Pro Wrestling is great, but it's got no graphical fidelity. It's very 8-bit and old. I want that with the graphical fidelity to create my own matches from ground up and them actually look good. That's what I want. That kind of like city builder version of a wrestling game. And that's what I think we could have. And I tell you what, 2K is about to lose the WWE contract anyway. Why not take your knowledge of wrestling, take your engine and put it into something very different, and take a very different take and a very different swing at the wrestling industry in video games. Something that a lot of other YouTubers like Delzinski have been just hounding for. This is what they use this for, so give them what they want. That's my pitch. So, time for the summary.
So yours sounds more like a sim management game than like a wrestling game, and that's, I gotta say, that's not where I thought it was going to end up. I thought yours was more so going to be like a, hey, wrestling, but it's all custom created characters and this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, something that he'd be able to use for OMGW for sure. I was like, that's deal. But like taking something that is one thing and has always been one thing and breaking it down into something that's more behind the scenes and changing the genre while allowing access to that thing still, that's I love that sort of shit,
What?
because that opens it up to other people and gets you allows like the fan, the player, to experience another end of something that you already enjoy.
Well, and there are some mobile games that kind of do this, but they're very small, independent, text-based things. Like, honestly, I don't know why nobody's thought of this before. I mean, this, to me, like, all wrestling is behind the scenes. Like, that's what it is. Like, it's a show. Like, it's a very unique kind of show. Very unique kind of show where it actually has very dangerous and athletic events happening in front of you. But it's a show. Like, let us make a show out of it. And what would be really cool about mine, and why, like, it would kind of even separate it from the sim management, is you could really watch the matches. You could put a show together and watch the show and see what happens. And then others can watch the show and rate what they think the show, how good the show was, you know? And
Yeah.
that to me is the real payoff, because you're really put in that seat of, I'm not just playing a wrestler in AEW, I'm making AEW. I'm making WWE from the ground up. I think that would be such a cool thing, especially with procedurally generated wrestlers. You could pick your favorites. You could like try and push them. They could also have their own, like levels of like diva-isness. You know what I mean? Like I think there's just so much you could do with this when you clip out that like trying to make it also a fighting game aspect.
Yeah.
Which is what all 2K games have done. Is there's always this fighting aspect, and then but I've never played a match. WWE, 2K, anything. 16, 19, any of the ones I've owned, I've never played a match, because I only ever use it to like simulate shit with my created characters, which is what you see with OMGW. Like, if they took that part out and they just made it about simulating shit, God, that could be cool. And we all know, there's rumors that like this 2K 2022, the 2K22 that just came out,
Yeah.
it's good. It's like 8 out of 10, but I guess we're still hearing rumors that WWE is like talking to other people to see what they can shore up.
Yeah.
Because
sure.
because of what happened with 20. So like it's not confirmed that they're going to have that contract, because their contract is up. This is the last contracted game they were with WWE, and really their Hail Mary to keep WWE in-house. Fuck, let them go, make the game I'm pitching, because I'll tell you what, you would have a lot of nerds immediately jump onto that, especially if you did add a character creator, a custom character creator to put your wrestlers in. Then I could make OMGW from the ground up, and make it my federation if I wanted to, if I wanted that level of control. But we've talked about mine enough. I'm going to talk about yours. God, that game sounds fun. I'm not going to lie, man. And what I liked about it is it's unique. I don't know of any, like, real monster truck games that are just about, like, that would be so much fun. That would be so much fun. Like, monster truck thing, the crushing, I love the idea of that. I really do.
Yeah, it was something that just kind of came to me as like, oh, these things, it's almost like a natural pairing.
Yeah.
That, like you said, is like nobody's really done. I mean, I'm sure there's some, bargain bin, dollar store, something or other game that has been made by somebody who is just like, here's a car, jump the gap, 3 stars, next level.
Right.
Like, making it like run based and not necessarily like level based is, I feel like, that where something like that would really truly shine.
You could even, I know you didn't necessarily add this to your pitch, but you could even do the gearhead thing, like set up builds in the truck. And there are so many different events that monster trucks do other than just the car crush. Like there could be the tractor pull, you could have a tractor pull event, you could have racing events, like all of that kind of stuff. And then you could take that online. That would be fucking amazing. I would love to do like versus car crushes and shit, and have to try and set your monster truck up to car crush best. There was this old Nintendo game called Bigfoot, based on obviously the actual Bigfoot monster truck. But it was a game that I owned, and I absolutely loved it. You would go cross country in your monster truck, and you would have to like add little parts to it, and each area you went to had a different thing you had to do. Like one of them was like a race, and then another one was like the mountain climb, and then there was another one where you had to crush cars, and then another one where you tractor pulled all the way to like across country, and then you'd have to like beat the other person that you were playing against or an AI. And that just brings back the nostalgia of that for me, and I would definitely be in on a monster truck car crushing game. Seriously.
So this is completely random.
Sure.
Now that we've just brought up, I was like, I'm gonna Google this Bigfoot game. So I see there's an NES game,
Yeah.
a Bigfoot NES game, which is and there's apparently also a board game that Milton
Really?
Bradley did. Yeah.
Oh
I'm
wow.
looking at a listing. It's literally it is a board game. There's 4 different like little trucks, and there's like car cards that you put on the road, and I guess you roll dice for movement and everything.
Oh
It
nice.
is very interesting. It's wild what they can turn into a fucking video game
Oh
or
man.
into a board game.
Can I
But
tell you, there was this board game that we're off on a board game tangent now.
yeah,
There was a board game when me and my brother were kids, because my brother was actually obsessed with being like a fighter pilot. Like when
oh,
he
okay.
was younger, it was one of his things. We had a board game that actually simulated dogfighting. And I remember it being one of the most fun games. They were like these little jets, and you put them on these like plastic things, and the board was just like this open diamond sky sort of thing. But where you were was elevation, and you had maneuvers and stuff that you could do in the jets, and then you were trying to get like a missile lock and a shooting lock, and that's all the game was just a dogfight simulator as a board game. It was one of the most interesting board games I've ever seen or played. I cannot remember the title of it to save my life, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
In the world, I've never even heard of anything like that
No,
before.
I've never seen or heard of anything like that since. Like honestly, I've never known anybody who had that board game. It was just me and Nick, and it was crazy cool. We played it with a couple other neighborhood kids, Andy and Spencer, because it could be up to 4 player, because you could have teams of like 2v2 and stuff, and that's when it got really cool, because like you had to
So
like pick up your friend's ace and stuff. It was very interesting.
so I'm looking right now because I was already Googling for the other one. Uh, so I'm seeing one that Milton Bradley did, literally just called Dogfight, World War One Air Battle Command.
No, it was
No, it
jets.
wasn't
World War
that. It was
One would
jets.
be biplanes and triplanes.
Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
anything about planes.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I maybe could remember if I saw the box, but it's so long and so forgotten to the ethos, that I don't know that I could ever remember what it was ever.
Screaming Eagles.
That's it. That's fucking it. That's
Yeah, I'm
fucking
looking
it.
at it
Hold on,
right
I
now.
gotta look it up just to make sure. Screaming Eagles sounds so fucking
This
familiar.
looks exactly like what you're. This looks exactly what it is that you were describing.
Screaming Eagles board. I think this is definitely. Oh my god, this is definitely it. I'm looking at the pictures now. Screaming Eagles. This is the fucking game. Holy shit. I gotta get this game. I seriously gotta purchase this game or find it.
Well,
Nineteen
it
ninety nine
is.
in stock on eBay, I guess.
Yeah, it is in stock on eBay.
Yeah, Screaming Eagles. This was the one. Me and my brother played this fucking thing all the time. You could play one of these 4 aircrafts. There was 2 MiGs and 2 Hornets, and you had like cards, and you dog fought each other on the board, and that's what this was. This was his game. This was the game. He got this, and this game was so much fun. Like so much fucking fun. Seriously.
I have
1987 was when that was made. Wow.
I have a copy of a first edition copy of. It's just called Dungeon that Wizards of the Coast did.
Nice.
And it's based off of, I believe, first edition D&D.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was from the, I think it was from the 70s.
God,
Yeah, I'm looking
cannot
at it
believe-
here. Let me.
I
see
can't
what's
believe you
pulling.
found Screaming Eagles. This is amazing.
Yeah.
I did not even have the title. I'm so. That's so cool that I remember the
I'm
title.
looking at this thing right now. It's 80. Yeah, it was from 1981. This thing was, and it's currently. Jesus, apparently it's valuable on eBay. Yeah, this game is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. It's I believe, yeah, it was done by TSR, which I believe is one of the early incarnations of Wizards of the Coast.
Yeah,
now that
yeah.
we've gone
TSR,
on for yeah.
TSR. Wizards of the Coast bought TSR. TSR was the original Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
which
were.
is fucking banana sandwich.
All right, well, we went on a real tangent there, ladies and
Yeah,
gentlemen.
we did.
But yeah, so who do you think wins between the two of us, in your opinion? It's a tough one on this one.
Yeah. Yeah, I might have to vote for me.
Okay.
And I think just in this instance, because wrestling games have never really been my thing, but I guess that's not necessarily a fair vote because I can't really take a look at it, objectively between the two.
Right. So this is true. I have endeavored to potentially get you into wrestling a couple of times.
Yeah.
which I may still yet
Yeah.
force you to do some wrestling. That being said,
Force me to do some wrestling.
Yeah,
Zach,
I
I'm
think
not
so.
going to wrestle you.
no, I actually wanted to kind of do a podcast where I was like,
I remember
I forced you
telling
to
me
watch
about
wrestling
that.
for a month, and then we talk about it every week about like what we thought about the show, like your experience with it, and then like I could talk you through like, oh well, this is what's actually happening here because I'm used to it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But that being said, I love wrestling, so if I was picking to give my money personally, I would be buying mine first. That being said, though, if I'm objectively looking at this as just a normal consumer, I think people would be a little bit more excited for yours than mine. I think mine fits a niche a little bit more than yours does, where yours has a little bit more wide-based appeal.
Yeah.
So that's the best I can do on that one, I think. So that's it. Like, but honestly, what do you guys think? Which do you guys think won? You guys let us know. And sorry about the weird Screaming Eagles dungeon tangent. And yeah, we'll be right back.
Sorry about it. I'm not sorry about it. He might be, but I'm not.
We'll be right back with plugs.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show. Shameless self-promotion that comes with it, which is weird since we just did this. So we're probably going to be plugging a lot of the same shit. Just remember, Neil, this is a week later when you're plugging.
This is a week later, yeah. So with that in mind, then I believe it will be this week. You will not be seeing a Halo Infinite Road episode because shenanigans abound and computers and technology, you know how it is. They don't work out all the time. So we will theoretically be back next week with that. It's going to put Zach in kind of a weird spot because we got to do that thing where we literally record an episode and he has to edit it that evening. But that's something that he and I will figure that.
It would have been
That's
better
for us
than
to
the episode
figure
you
out.
would have gotten, which would have just been me angrily swearing through an entire thing. All right. Yeah. So I'm on vacation this week. That is why you guys listen to a special episode.
He's on
of this.
vacation right now.
Right now.
This
right
very
now.
second.
This very second, I am on vacation. So that being said, this is why we did not do fan interaction. Anything you comment on this or the last one, we will be reading out on the next one. And I have some news. News indeed. Next week, our podcast on YouTube, you might just be seeing our faces. We've been toying around with this idea for a while. Mr. Neil, who has been on a YouTube channel for over 2 years, has finally gotten a webcam. So
I'm modern.
So we have decided that we're gonna try doing the YouTube version. Since the YouTube version and the actual podcast version have almost no differences whatsoever, we decided. I don't know why you'd want to look at our faces, but maybe you would want to look at our faces. So we are going to record our faces as well, so you will be able to actually see us on the YouTube version. So hopefully that's I don't know why this is special, but that's what's happening, and that's what we're gonna plug. So episode 35, you get to see me and Neil in
I'm
person.
gonna be a creep ass and stare directly at the camera the entire time.
I'm gonna tell you, anybody who has watched you already knows that you're gonna be a creep ass and stare at the camera the entire time. There have been so many terrible talks where I'm just sitting here like, please blink, man, please blink. You're doing so good at the talking. Just blink your fucking eyes, please. I feel like you see my thoughts and lies. Just blink your fucking eyes, man.
I can see unto your soul.
As far as that, I'm going to say there's not a lot coming out this week, stream-wise, because I'm on vacation. You will still get a prelude this Sunday. You're obviously getting that, and hopefully I got the review up for Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Hopefully. But next week we will be back with all the normal streams, and we will be back with more Star Trek Axiom, which you guys have been enjoying, so hopefully that keeps going. And as usual, you guys can contact us on Facebook at OmanGamingDH, on Twitter at OmanGaming9. You can join our Discord. Links in the description below, please. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. Ladies and gentlemen, as long as you keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next week. Possibly for real.
For real?
For real.
My cat just dove into a cabinet.
It's always a pet with you guys, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's this fucking fat ass. He's huge, so anything that he does with any sort of effort is always way louder than you expect it to be.
Still, in like 2 years of doing recordings with you and your wife, I don't think there has ever been a time when your pets don't get involved in some way, shape, or form.
There's a whole, like, everybody here has their own little fucking personality, and they all clash constantly. So it's very hard to just have, like, normalcy.
I remember when we did the tabletop game. It was like a thing. Like
God,
every time.
Dog.
Every time. It was
All
like
the time.
Neil and Kayla's fucking pets. Here we go.
Yeah.